Good morning. When I agreed to speak today, I was asked to keep my remarks to no more than 4 minutes. So I'll try to be brief, and I will fail. It's a singular honor for me to be here and to remember a man who made a tremendous difference in my life, Dr. Joseph R. Curry, or as he wanted me to call him a few years after graduating, Joe. That was a difficult transition. There's so much to say about him. Joe was the 9th headmaster at Cushing, the longest serving. And during that time, Joe saved this school, as has been mentioned so many times, and then set it on a course that subsequent headmasters, Willard Lamp, Jim Tracy, and the new kid here, Chris Torino, have striven to maintain and build upon. Cushing's reputation as a first-class college prep school is now known and appreciated all over the globe. And of course, its student body reflects that. Joe was a strong, determined man of great empathy and kindness. But he would kick your butt if you needed it. He believed in tough love, as we call it now. And you could see the pain in his face when he had to seriously discipline a student. I had the dubious honor of seeing that up close. As headmaster, Joe was a constant presence. It was as if you could never escape him. He seemed to show up just about everywhere with that tight grin that usually would expand into a broad, expansive smile. We knew that Joe cared about each and every one of us because our success was his as well. I am convinced that more than any other improvement or change he made here during his tenure, it was that concern, that determination, and especially that love communicated through everything that was done here that made Cushing into what it continues to be to this day. The best school, as far as we are concerned, in the entire planet, period. And for that, Joe, all of us who have attended, for all of us who are attending, and for all of those who will attend this great institution called Cushing Academy, we thank you. Now let me share you a little anecdote that refers back. I'm from Atlanta, Georgia. When I'm asked where I went to school, I usually reply that the shorter answer is, where didn't I go to school? It's no understatement to say that I had a somewhat checkered academic career before I came here. I came to Cushing on a probationary basis. At my last school, a Catholic military day school in Atlanta, well known for dealing with hard cases, I had managed to fail 4 of my 6 classes in the spring semester. Needless to say, they were encouraging me to find somewhere else to go. I arrived here in the fall of 1975, and Dr. Curry took a special interest in my case. Being a naive, clueless teenager, I did not realize this, of course. I thought everyone got this kind of attention. Joe was tantalized by the challenge I presented. He was certain that this school, that his school, could and would rescue me from myself. One condition of my acceptance to Cushing was I would repeat the 10th grade, which I agreed to, of course, because I really hadn't gotten anything out of my prior 10th grade experience. And so it came to pass that as the grass was starting to show through the snow in the preemptive spring of 1976, I was called into the headmaster's office. Most of us have been in that room for one reason or another, and usually, for students anyway, it was in groups, which was good, because as much as he loved each and every one of us, Joe was a most imposing figure, and many of us quaked in our shoes when he hove into view with his Timberline boots on, in spite of that smile of his. He was smiling when I came in, but as I sat down in front of his desk, he looked gloomy. "Douglas," he said in that baritone we all knew well, "I've been reviewing your performance." "Yes, sir," I replied in a squeak. "Douglas, if you do not improve your grades by the end of the semester, I may not be able to let you come back next year." Now, almost every person in the world would understand the meaning of that statement. However, I missed it completely. And with barely a pause, I replied, "Well, Dr. Curry, I've been thinking about that, and I've been thinking about transferring to Lawrence Academy." Dr. Curry's face went from his usual pink to a bright red. His eyes got bigger than I'd ever seen them, and if I didn't know better, I would have sworn steam was coming out of his ears. As he considered the sheer temerity of my statement. After all, Lawrence Academy was an arch enemy, and certainly way behind Cushing in terms of academic rigor. He took a deep breath, and then, at the top of his lungs, in a bellow that shook the windows of his office, and I was convinced must have been heard as far away as Boston, he roared, "Douglas! You're full of shit!" You are just full of shit! As I sat there, withering, buffeted by the sheer force of his voice, he went on to delineate exactly in which ways I was full of shit. And it was, I don't remember much of that, the rest of that meeting, though I recall that that list was extensive. I was shattered. I went back to Cook Hall, and from the little phone booth on the second floor, I called my parents in Atlanta. I told them what had happened, what Dr. Curry had said to me. And I told them that I wanted to come home immediately. But my parents, being good parents, wisely sided with Dr. Curry, saying, "We're sorry, honey, but Dr. Curry is right. You are full of shit." The memory of my mother saying that to me is very strong. It took me a while to come to terms with this revelation, but after a while I realized, of course, that Joe was right. If I thought that transferring to another school was going to make anything better, if I thought that the change did not have to come from within me, then I really was full of shit. So little by little, with Joe's encouragement and the faculty's, my grades improved. I came back the next year and the next, and graduated 18th in a class of over 100 students. We all know that if a member of a school's faculty were to do something like this to a student today, he or she would be excoriated in the press and by their PTA, and probably sued by the child's parents as well as the ACLU. But it was a different time, thank God, because that is exactly what I needed to be told, and in that way. That is how Joe Curry saved me from myself. He held up a mirror for me. I did not like what I saw. And that is why I will always love the man named Joseph Curry. In closing, I'd like to read to you some lines from a song from the Broadway musical Wicked. It's a lovely, sweet song. The lyrics speak to me every time I hear them. And every time I hear them, I think of Joe Curry. I've heard it said that people come into our lives for a reason, bringing something we must learn. And we are led to those who help us most to grow if we let them. And we help them in return. Well, I don't know if I believe that's true, but I know I'm who I am today because of you. Like a comet pulled from orbit as it passes the sun, like a stream that meets a boulder halfway through the wood. Who can say if I've been changed for the better? But because I knew you, I have been changed for good. Thank you.